Well, welcome everybody to the Friday Happy Hour. Thanks for joining the Dennis and Andy show. Hopefully everybody grabbed something cool and refreshing to drink and you can sit back and have a drink with us as we discuss many topics. Now, you'll notice that somebody's missing today. That's right. Andy is away. He's out doing family things today, so he couldn't make it. It's kind of like Batman being without his Robin, or Captain Kirk being without his Spock, or the Tick being without Arthur. Well, anyway, we only get half the duel, so Andy, have fun today. So there are a number of things that we need to discuss today, but first, we need to talk about what are we going to be drinking today. So today, I picked up from Frothy Beard. This is their jalapeno beer. So this is from Charleston, South Carolina. We had gone down for a convention. This is a pale ale, a little bit different from what I usually drink. And we got a tour of their brewery. It's a microbrewery right down there in Charleston. And they make a bunch of really interesting different beers, and some are infused. It's pretty interesting. So anyway, when we had a taste of this in the back, this was a must buy. It's a jalapeno beer. It's also really good if you decide to grill out bratwurst. You know, I'm from Wisconsin originally, so we know how to make bratwurst. So what we do is you can take those and you can boil them in jalapeno beer. So if you like a little spice to them, I think you're going to like it. So anyway, while I'm waiting for the foam to go down, we have our first sip. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the comic industry. Some shocking news that's already flying everywhere. Andy texted it to me last night. Marvel exclusively distributes to comic shops by way of Penguin Random House. So, Bleeding Cool released this, and I know some of the shop owners knew, some of them didn't know it was coming. Marvel Comics has announced that they will no longer be distributing comic books to comic stores in North America via Diamond Comics distributors. Instead, they will be exclusively being distributed by Penguin Random House Publishing Services, a division of the Penguin Random House. This will be an exclusive worldwide multi-year sales and distribution agreement for Marvel's newly published in backlist comic books, trade collectibles, and graphic novels to comic shops. It officially begins October 1st of this year. So what does this mean? Well, you know, having helped out in the industry and helped out in comic shops, you know, comic shops, you all have only one place to go, and that was, you know, Diamond. Diamond exactly wasn't very good. They were a monopoly. Everybody knew it. And they treated you as such. You weren't treated, even though you were a customer of theirs, many times you weren't treated like a customer. Well, DC was the first one to fall when they kind of pulled their distribution rights, and now Marvel's doing it. So this is going to have a dramatic impact on the comic book shops. It's going to be very interesting to see. They're going to wind up going through them. Random House, I understand in a way why they did it, because the comic book numbers have been shrinking down. And as the comic book numbers shrink, you know, they need to do more with trades, things like that. Random House understands how to do it. So I do understand that in a way. I mean, a lot of your comic sales are 8, 9, 10, 12,000 comics. Your better ones are 20, 30, 40, maybe 50,000. You know, every once in a while, there's a nice big one that comes through it. But those numbers are a far cry from, say, the 1980s, where titles were selling 1 million copies. You know, we all know X-Men #1 best-selling book of all time, Spawn #1. Those days are long gone. Marvel's been making a push to delve into really pushing the digital end of it. We all know if you buy the Marvel, you got the code, you can put it in and you get it. It's good and bad. I'm still a paper guy. Most of the guys that I know are still, and girls, are paper comic people. Although that doesn't mean that it isn't nice to have a tablet. And if you're going to bed at night, instead of falling asleep with your comic, you can have it on a tablet, read it in the dark. It's got its benefits, but I would never want to go, fully digital. So I've got a feeling this is really going to wind up being rough for a lot of different, because now they've got to go through somebody else. Are the discounts going to be as good? That's something that we're going to have to find out. And I think all the local comic book shop owners, they're going to have a lot to figure out. Diamond is going to wind up being basically a wholesaler in the end, which means they will also be purchasing from them. And those dealers who want to stick with Diamond can still purchase through Diamond. But if they're a wholesaler, their margins are going to get smaller. Therefore, I can see it kind of happening throughout everything. If their margins are smaller, they're not going to be able to offer the final consumer a whole lot of discounts. So your comics may be going up. We had just talked about in our last stream that some of the DC Comics are talking about raising their comic books dramatically to probably a $4.99 or $5.99 price point. I'm thinking we're starting to see the shift. So as more develops, I'm sure we will be talking more about it. We also got more news this week, and some people are mad, some people are sad, some people weren't exactly too shocked by it. They moved the Black Widow movie to Disney Plus Premiere, and it's going to be July 9th. So they moved it back again, and I really was excited for a while to see this movie, to see what they could do with it. We've been seeing the trailers for quite some time. So really wanted to go to the theater and actually see this. So we first got the news of, Marvel distributing through Penguin Random House, and now we're dealing with, Black Widow being pushed back. Makes me very, very sad. But needless to say, we'll do what we can. So it looks like we've got just enough before we start digging in. Here's the first of the jalapeno beers, so everybody grab a sip. Oh, that is a good beer. It's got a nice kick to it. I think anybody who likes a little bit of spice should go ahead and, if you get down to Charleston, or see if you can order it. That's a good beer. That is a really good beer. And again, for those of you who joined, it's a frothy beard jalapeno out of Charleston. So what are we going to talk about? We've got a couple of things today. Vietnam horror. We're going to just briefly mention that coming up. We're going to do a couple of reviews. I picked up Radiant Black #2. I'm going to talk about that. Andy gave me, if you saw the last live stream, the Minxx Cyberpunk. So I'm going to do a review on Minxx Cyberpunk. But Winter Soldier, I just finished watching Winter Soldier. It's been a busy day today, lots of rain. So I had a lot of things that I had to get done, and I'm like, I have to get this watched, and I did. I'm going to say there's a couple of things. I'm not going to give a lot of spoilers out because I know it's Friday. It's not even been a couple of days. It was released this morning. But I do want to talk. There's some good things and bad things that I see coming around with this show. It starts off dealing with we got introduced to Captain America at the end of last episode, and Captain America is played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell and Goldie's son. And the memes are out there. It's just so hilarious right now. Thanos destroys the world. Loki helps do all these bad things, and they list them. And Johnny gets 8 seconds of airtime, and he's the most hated person in the entire Marvel universe. It's just amazing fan reactions to it across the board. There's the one where he looks like, the older gentleman from Up. So many just funny memes are out there about it. But this one starts off, and, you get a interview, Good Morning America. So they're actually branding with like Good Morning America. He winds up going on their show and introducing him, and it's held in his hometown down in Georgia at his high school. I mean, that was kind of neat. I mean, if you saw the bleachers on there, they either added a lot of bleachers or that's one really big high school that loves football. But it was pretty cool. They had 1/6 size action figures, and Johnny signing, Captain America on the boxes and everything like that. They do an interesting interview. You kind of find out that he's a real soldier. You find out some of the background. For those of us that have read the comic books, U.S. agent, we kind of know him from that. So we got an idea where this is heading. But it was pretty cool. They wind up digging up with Bucky, and so the Winter Soldier winds up hooking up with the Falcon, and they go off to do their thing. And it's funny because Bucky's still upset, that he's given up the shield. He's probably going to try and convince him throughout the whole thing to take it back. And they wind up going on a mission, which is, pretty cool because it's all about the Flag Smashers. So they're going to stop this terrorist organization known as the Flag Smashers, although they see themselves as basically freedom fighters. And they go to figure out, they take off, and they're stealing like vaccinations. So we don't know if it has to tie in with the real world here or not. But needless to say, they wind up getting into the truck only to find out that there's no hostages, no nothing. They're all super soldiers, and they get their butt kicked until we all know, Captain America and his sidekick, who we then find out a little bit later named Battlestar, wind up showing up, and you think they're going to save the day, but they actually all get their butts handed to them by these super soldiers. So it is pretty interesting, what they're actually doing with it. You find out that, and here's the one twist that I'll kind of talk about. Carly Morgenthau is the head of the Flag Smashers. Well, in the comic books, it was actual Carl. So I am not 100% sure, and you guys can leave comments on what you think. Did they gender bend this one and it's now Carly? Or could this be maybe his daughter that, he had these abilities and he passed it off to her, and she's kind of picking up maybe with an offshoot from the comic books. So I think it'll be, pretty interesting. They do wind up, one really good thing is they wind up going and meeting Isaiah Bradley. And anybody who read the Truth comic book, it was really kind of dealing with Captain America, that they had done experiments on 300 of the African-American soldiers from, I believe, like Mississippi. He was the only one that survived the process. And he wound up going like Black Ops and doing lots of missions and things like that. So it was pretty interesting. I did love the fact that, when they went to see him, he shows them right away that, he's got power and everything like that. It was just amazing. The actor, of course, he is the voice of Martian Manhunter, so that was actually pretty neat to be able to see that. One of the things that's starting to bother me in the show, so there, like I said, there's some good things and bad things. They go to visit him and they leave, and two police officers, wind up pulling them over for whatever reason. They're having a loud discussion walking down the street, but they pull it over, and of course they ask Bucky if, is he bothering you? And he's like, well, no, it's none of your business. We're just doing our own thing. Are you sure he's not bothering you? And, he's like, oh, no, there's nothing wrong here. And then he's like, hey, you know who that is? They're Avengers. Oh, okay, Avengers. But once again, the issue that I have, and, I know they're trying to make it relevant to today. So, but the problem is they're stereotyping all the police officers dealing, with the public as they always will. Well, they looked at the one gentleman and not the white gentleman. And it's just like, really? Really? Do we need to exasperate this and push this? Yes, Disney has done it again. Some people think it's great that they're talking about, today's social stuff. I just don't think do we really need to try and fan that? Because it winds up being, Bucky winds up getting arrested because, he's got an outstanding warrant for his arrest. Go figure. And because he missed his therapy session, well, we find out it's not the doctor. It winds up being Captain America himself who wound up issuing it because he wanted him to, come to Captain America because these guys don't want to work with him. He's not the real Cap. And they're like, well, who did this? And he was really cocky, Johnny. He's like, me, I did it. Yeah, I can basically do what I want. And they start dealing with, they go in for their session. And this is the funny part. This is the good part of the show, is the interaction between Winter Soldier and Falcon. It is very organic. It truly is. They play very well off one another. They get into the therapy session where they go into couples therapy, and it's hilarious. It is definitely the funniest part of the show so far, and they have to go kneecap to kneecap and in closer, and then they wind up having, if you saw the trailers, the staring contest that we've all been waiting for. Absolutely fantastic. I laughed and laughed. My wife watched it this afternoon. She took a little break and was able to at least watch it. We just both, it was so well done, and then you've got the therapist as the straight person. It was great. It really was. Great dynamics with it. They wind up finding out, now they mention this, and they wind up mentioning the Global Reparation Council. Which is also another thing that's got me kind of interested where they're going to go with this. Because are they the ones that are going to be, with all the people that came back from the blip, who's going to be doing the redistributions of everything? We don't really know what they are. I don't know. They're hinting at it. From the comic books, we've got a few hints that, who's giving these super soldiers the serum. It'll be fun to see. Towards the end, all we know is, what we've kind of been waiting for. Well, we need to know what's going on. So we're going to have to visit Hydra. And of course, it ends with, you see, Baron Zemo, again, not a spoiler, you've seen it. He's playing chess, of course, in his cell, which looks like a super advanced security cell. So the question is he playing chess with anybody? Does he play by himself? Is this like kind of a throwback to, Professor Xavier and Magneto, because they're always playing chess, but we don't see anybody. And he's in the cell, so we know now where the next one's going to open up. like I said, it was a very interesting issue. It's got some good action. I love the interaction between the characters. Wyatt Russell plays a really good, cocky version of Captain America, but I will call him U.S. Soldier. And, the problem is he gets his butt kicked today. And you'll see all of this. And is he going to want to get juice? And I think this is where it may start tying into the comic books. So usually we give our CGC grades. This episode, they played really well off of one another. The action was good. The story flowed. I don't necessarily like having some of the social agendas working in there and things like that. Again, we see this anytime we can turn on the news right now and see it. Do we really want to deal with it because you're pushing an agenda? I don't know. I'm giving it an 8.0. I'm liking where the bulk of it's going, and I hope they focus in on that. And I guess we'll see. So I'm giving it an 8.0 for this week. I'll be curious to see when Andy gets back, when he watches it, what he's going to say. We're going to talk about, Andy kind of teased us on the last one. So he got Minxx Cyberpunk. He had backed this one. It isn't one that I had heard of. So when we were actually backing First Man the other day, he goes, you know what? You would like this because everybody knows I like Cyberpunk. You get to see some of the stickers and cards and stuff that he got with it. It was really good stuff. So I said, of course, everybody knows I like Cyberpunk. I like futuristic stuff. Let's just kind of see where this is going to take us. So anyway, here's the comic, Minxx Cyberpunk. It's by a company called BMA Studios. Pat Shand is the writer, and Romano Molinar is the artist. Blonde and Sabine Rich are the colorists, and Taylor Esposito of Ghostglyph Studios did the letters. Now, a lot of times I'll just mention, a lot of times the writer and the artist, but in this case, I will tell you right now, I wound up really enjoying this book. Very first opening page, I'm just going to kind of show you the art. I loved how it immediately starts off. She's walking. The colors are vibrant. I like the pencils. I'm going to be very curious to get Andy's take on the art of it. I totally enjoyed it, but even the banter. So she's got an AI. This takes place obviously in the future. This takes place in a large city where she's on a mission right now. She's going to hunt somebody. And she's got an AI. It's like a device. It's like a heads-up display. So it's an intelligent, artificial intelligence that's tied into somehow. And it's talking to her, and she's like, and he's named Bastion, run your beautiful little digital fingers through some promo pictures of this joint that she needs to get into. I need to know if I'm going to be wearing my norms. The AI responds, I do not believe a black tie event would allow underboob Minxx. Because her name's Minxx. Underboob. I started laughing so loud. I was like, okay, they've already hooked me. I can see they've got some humor in this. One of the interesting things, so her job is to find a missing artist, like a singer. And she's been missing for quite some time. So she goes, winds up going in undercover to do it so that she's able to, the AI scans something appropriate, and then it's like, think of like Star Trek in the holodeck. It projects something over her, so she winds up seeing it, right? They wind up walking in, and the name is Kiwi Crema is the name of the artist that she's supposed to go find. And this is a really cool splash page right in there, very opening page. And it's very colorful. Again, I like the layout. I enjoyed. And it's like Kiwi Crema identified, Kiwi identified, Kiwi identified. There's all these Kiwis. I'm like, oh, cloning? Do we have a cloning situation here? So she winds up going in, and winds up going undercover, so she's going to go as one of the waitresses. And she winds up hitting the waitress, and you'll see at the bottom. So now the waitress, though, she's got like fire coming out. So, and when she hits her, it almost, I don't think these are clones. I think these are machines of some sort. So anyway, the story continues on, and it's well written. I enjoyed the dialogue. She winds up breaking in, and one of the things that I think the letterist does is, as it goes in here, and this is something that you can see where people are discussing. So you can see people's bubbles, they're yelling, things like that. But when the AI talks, they use a different font. Well, they find out that there's a video of Minxx actually killing a police officer. And she didn't do it. But there's the video of it right on there. And then we get to this huge splash page where she says, digitize me. Check that out. That is just a absolutely beautiful centerpiece right there. Look at that. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. They discuss it's kind of like the Star Trek transporter, but they fully digitize them. And you find out that there's another Minxx that is hanging out there with the bad guys. And you notice her font, though. It's a different type of font. It looks like the AIs. So instead of, I was thinking she was a clone. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's machine. We'll find out, because it leaves on a really good cliffhanger where the two of them get to meet. And then even on there, they show a picture of the black and white pencils for it. This book's quality. It's high gloss paper. It's very well done. I thoroughly enjoyed this, so much so that I am kind of bummed that I missed it on the go around. So I'm going to do a little checking into it and find out. I hope they wind up doing more, and then I'll be able to pick up the back issue, because this is a series that I would pick up on a monthly basis. But however often they're going to put it out, I highly recommend Minxx Cyberpunk. So good job, guys. I'll dig up a little more, because I would love to get my hands on that. This was fun. That was a fun comic book. The second one is Radiant Black. So we all did the first issue. If you can go back and see our original one, Andy and I both really enjoyed the first issue of Radiant Black. Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa, they really nailed it with the first one. They gave us enough info to understand, he's just got it, again, greatest American hero, he's got these powers. He doesn't know how to use them. He's got no money. He's living at home. And then towards the end, all of a sudden, a red version of him shows up. And we start finding out that that people are seeing this red version breaking through walls, stealing stuff from banks, things like that. So there's somebody out there committing these crimes, and they look a lot like him. The dialogue, he winds up, again, the art is very good in here. I think everybody will enjoy this. And even, take a look at how they did the back. I just like that. It's very simple. The art is good. The police wind up showing up at the house. And they even do like a digitized moment where they actually see them, and you can actually see how they did it, like digitizing on the hands. That is really cool. Don't know if they did this on the computer or how they actually draw it. I might have to find out, because Andy would probably know, but that was kind of fun. And the police wind up showing up at the house, and they know who he is. Apparently they have film and everything of it, or video. Film makes me sound kind of old. And he winds up, the dad says, you need to get a job. So he's an Uber driver. So it's actually pretty funny. He's got all these Uber people coming in. He's asking, boy, did you hear about what was going on? Yes. And he finds out that he finds out the location of him, right? And he winds up going and he's trying to confront the red version and say, hey, dude, if you got this, why are you doing bad things with it? We should be like trying to do good things. Well, the guy gets all upset and like goes after him. And they wind up having some pretty good battle scenes. The dialogue goes on. Again, it's organic. This doesn't feel contrived or anything like that. I thought it was just very well done. He winds up, the guy takes off in the car. His car winds up trying to take it. He winds up catching the money. Again, just the emotion, no words, but it's just through the pictures, how it conveys the emotion. Really enjoyed it. And at the end, he winds up doing the superhero thing. I think you lost this. That's just awesome. That's just awesome. It was really cool. It ended, he ends with a conversation with his father. The relationship between his mom and dad and him is organic, his friend, and then even the characters around there. Again, I really like the writing. So I'm just going to say, Kyle, keep it up. Marcelo, I'm enjoying this. I'm going to give this a CGC rating of an 8.0. I would go higher because I really like where they're going. I think they could do a little more on the story. I would like to know a little bit more or have a little bit quicker brought into it. So it's not that it's really slow. I think the pace could just be a little bit quicker with a little bit more info. Hope that makes sense. But I really enjoy it. I'm going to keep it on my pull list. Minxx Cyberpunk, I forgot to give that a CGC rating. I'm going to give that one a CGC rating of a 9.0. I love the art. I love the bright colors. I love the way it was lettered. I liked the story. It captured me. So definitely found some good ones. Now, I just put up a few YouTube shorts this morning, and I've already got some comments back on what people want to see. So what I'm going to do is just kind of mention some of them. And what I think I'm going to do, I kind of showed this on the last show, Vietnam Horror #1. We briefly showed some of the artwork in this, and it looks great. And I've already got a number of likes and people saying, yes, we would like to find out. I don't know a whole lot about, Behemoth. But with that being said, this looks like a really good first issue, and I'm going to be curious to know more about them, so I'll be looking into it. The other one that I've gotten some information on is Alien. So we had kind of talked about this, and I did a quick flip on this one this last week, or the last show. This looks really great. The cover, absolutely nailed it and had me in. Hyuk Lee did the cover, and I mean, I love it. Absolutely love it. Hey, Eric, how we doing? You must have just joined. We're almost done. You'll have to go back and watch it from the beginning. Yeah, that's the new Alien book. I was just getting into it. This is going to be one that I did a YouTube quick flip, and several people have already said they want me to do a full review on this. So Vietnam Horror and Alien, I will be doing full reviews on when I sit down and read them. So that looks like some of the ones that people are very interested in on just the ones that I released from the last episode. Eric, we just finished with Radiant Black. Like I said, you have to go in and watch. Radiant Black #2 we just graded. I just did the review on Minxx. And you can go back in and watch that. I will show two little teaser things today. And again, Andy's gone. The Tick lost his Arthur today because he's out doing family stuff out of town. So I've been doing it. So I had mentioned, and a couple of people had wanted me to show some artwork. I'll probably bring the entire portfolio. I did a comic book when I was a kid, and I'm a horrible artist. You know, I can write stories, I can do adventures, stuff like that. But when it comes to drawing, I am absolutely horrible at drawing. Now I can draw ships. I could draw Galactica. I could draw Viper, Enterprise. You know, which I'm a Star Trek fan. I can't draw people. My daughter, at the young age, she knew I was a Phoenix, so I'm going to embarrass her a little bit. When she was very young, she drew this for me. So it's just something that I've always kept in with my comic because, you know, she's in college and off in there, but she drew that for me. So I was a huge fan of Robotech, Star Blazers, Star Trek. So when I was a kid, I've been buying all these comic books, and I was like, well, what kid doesn't sit down and say, well, I'm going to draw my own comic book? So I wound up drawing them as a kid. So there were a couple. This is probably the better part. So you can see the end. That's the inside space stack. Oh, I don't know how to do anything. I didn't know there was pencils and colors and, you know, everything. I just knew ink. I had a pen and I kind of drew. And the Enterprise, I remember drawing a little bit in pencil and then kind of went around it. So anyway, that's about as good as I get for artwork on ships, which is okay. And then, you know, now you get to see, this is the bad part, and I'll probably bring him on Wednesday when Andy's back so that we can see it. I am horrible at people. I never could draw people. And, you know, it was all about manga style. So if anybody's like a fan of Robotech, you know, that is literally the extent of my creative drawing ability and stuff like that. So anyway, this would have been right after Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And then I think Robotech Star Blazers was like 81, 82. So right around that time frame was when I did it. So yeah, pretty horrible. But anyway, that's when I knew I wasn't going to be an artist and I had to go other ways. Andy, you'll get to see it on Wednesday. So in case you missed it, I am drinking frothy beer. That is a jalapeno beer brewed. It's a microbrewery that's in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a pale ale, not one that I would normally drink. Good for brewing, getting some brats and stuff in it. So anyway, on Monday's episode, we are going to be joined by comic book superstar David Williams. He will be joining the show. And I believe that is our usual 7 o'clock time frame. So anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, and that way you get notified when our videos are going live and you can join us. So anyway, we will look forward to seeing you all later. See you on Monday. Bye, everybody.